Today is Sunday, Chof Zayin Nisan Tavshin Ayin Gimel. We're in Teres Menachem Sefer Memorim Tavshin Yud Aleph Tavshin Yud Beis. In the Maimer of Shviyim Beis the Chag Shavuos Tavshin Yud Aleph. Alpayim Shana Kod Matera Libriasa Shel Ilam. We are on page Tzadik Vov, Ois Dalid, chapter 4. In short, the Rebbe quotes the Maimer Chazal, which says that the Torah preceded the world by 2,000 years, and asks, what's the concept of time? The creation of the world. I'm sorry. The Torah, Alpayim Shodma Kodma Torah Libriyasa Shel Olam. The Torah preceded the world, the creation of the world by 2,000 years. Asks the Rebbe, what is the meaning of that statement before creation? If time is also a creation. Time is created just like anything else. So therefore, what does it mean 2,000 years before the creation of the world? There was no time then. And in simple terms, or rather in short, the Rebbe says that Alpayim refers to two Alephs. Aleph Chochma, Aleph Bina, which means I will teach you Chochma, I will teach you Bina. So in other words, Torah precedes the world, the creation of the world, by the two levels of Chochma and Bina. The world, the world is created through the Midas, right? Sunday is Chesed, Monday is Gvura, and so on and so forth. Torah is Meichin, the intellectual faculties. So it precedes the world in the sense that it comes from a higher level. We learned that from the Pasuk in Mishlei, which says, it refers to Torah as Hashem's delight, Shashuyim, delight, Yom Yom, 2 days, 2 days, Elef Shanim, Hashem's day is 1,000 years. So from 2 times Yom you learn Alpayim. Alpayim is Alefcho, 2 Alefchos, Chochman Bina. In short, that's what the Rebbe says.
Very short.
Yeah. So the Rebbe goes on and asks a question. And in this Pasuk in Mishlei, the Pasuk actually enumerates 5 aspects in connection to Torah.
Would it alles be Alefim, not Alpayim?
It's a drash. It's not Pirish and Pashot, obviously.
Not mathematics.
Sorry?
How do you connect the Alpayim with Chochma?
Because there's another Chazal that says, it's actually based on a Pasuk from Eve, A'alefcha Chochma, A'alefcha Bina. I will teach you Chochma, I will teach you Bina. So we see A'alefcha from the expression of Elef, teaching Alpayim, 2 Aleph, switch to the A'alefcha Chochma and the A'alefcha Bina.
And what does Alefcha mean?
I will teach you. So that's how we come to. So again,
Why is it grammatically connected to 1,000 in the Shorish?
it's a good question. No, but I say the
Does that
mitzvahs.
see the...
That's the way it says. Alefcha Chochma, Alefcha Bina. If you look at the Bar Mitzvah Maimer, every kid at the Bar Mitzvah, this is what he says. Torah is Chochma, as it says, Alefcha Chochma, Alefcha Bina.
1,000 is the same as 1. 1,000 is just a fuller expression of 1.
Yeah. Yeah, but the question is why after 1,000, why not 100?
Why
You know,
teach that? Why does the word Elef connote teaching?
Okay,
There's
let me
no
just-
connection. You know, there's no root.
I'm sure if we delve into it a little deeper, we'll get that as well. If you want, I can check that out. But let's move on a little bit for the moment. So Torah is connected to Meichen, Chochma and Bina. That's Yom Yom. The world is connected to Midas. Chesed Gvura Tiferes Netzach Yisrael. Sheishes Yomim Osa Hashem Es Hashemayim V'Es Haaretz. The Midas. Says the Rebbe that in this pasuk in Mishlei, the pasuk actually enumerates 5 aspects in connection to Torah. Starts off, V'Ehyeh Etzli Amen. I will be, as the Rebbe explained, that even though grammatically here we're talking about the Vav HaHipuch, it means and I was, but the Zohar clearly states that it's a reference to the future, that in the future time it'll be Amen, Hashem's nursling, Torah as a nursling beside Hashem, one Nekuda. The next one of V'Ehyeh Shashuyim Yom Yom, the one we're discussing now, Torah as a delight, Yom Yom. Zachek is the fun of B'chal Torah playing before him, Hashem, at all times. The fourth nekuda, misachekes b'tevel artze, playing in the habitable world of Hashem, Hashem's habitable world. V'shashua yes b'nei Adam, and my delights with the children of man. So then I went into a discussion where we were talking about these 5 points in Torah is going in ascending order or descending order. And the Rebbe concluded that it goes in descending order, meaning Amoin would be the highest. Torah as a nursling would be the highest nekuda. Shashuyim is the second one. So the question was, why do Chazal highlight the second component of Torah rather than the first? Should have focused in on Amoin. Why on Shashuyim? So the Rebbe went into a pretty detailed description of the connection between Torah and Tainug. At every level, in other words, he started off by saying, so he said like this, Amain refers to Torah at the level of Atzmos, the very essence of Hashem. Torah at its highest level, as it is with Hashem himself at the very essence, before any expressions coming forward out of Hashem. Then you have Shashuyim. What's Shashuyim? Shashuyim is the light. What did we say? It's Yom Yom. We're talking about Torah at the level of Chochmah. So how does Shashuyim come into it? In the order of Sfiris, you have the 10 Sfiris, Chochmah bin Das, the intellectual aspects of the Sfiris, and then you have the emotional aspects of the Sfiris, from Chesed through to Malchus, right? Beyond Moichim, beyond the intellectual aspects of the Sfiris, of the attributes, you have Rotzen and Tainug, which is generally Chitzainis HaKeser and Pnimius HaKeser, the external aspect of Keser, of the crown, and the internal aspect of the crown. Tainug is the internal aspect of the crown, which is beyond the 10 spheres. So the Rebbe asked, if we're talking about Yom Yom, Torah at the level of what? Chochman Bina, what's Misachekes? What's Shashuyim? Shashuyim is connected to Tainug. Delight. That's Tainug, that's not Chochman Bina. So the Rebbe explained that although we say that Torah is connected to Chochmah and to Bina, and as we say, Oiraisa me Chochmah nafkes, Torah comes out from Chochmah, it means that Chochmah and Bina reveal Torah. But Torah is rooted much higher. So in Sfiris, when we talk about the levels of Giluyim, of revelations, we're talking, the first point is what? Is Tainug. The innermost dimension of what? Of Keser. So Torah reveals that which is, Chochmah and Bina reveals that which is beyond it. Which is what? It reveals Pnimius HaKeser. So when you say Torah as Chochmah and Bina, Yom Yom, it's still appropriate to say Shashuyim, delight, because it reveals the delight of Torah. And that's why he brought the Ma'amar Chazal, that Rabbi Abbo found a new Tosefta, a new Braiser, a new Mishnah. His face became radiant with a gold color. Tainug. So we see Torah connected to Tainug. Then he went into a whole discussion of Bina, that in Bina, the Chazal, I don't want to go through it in detail because we learned it already. You can listen online. Bina, that the revelation of Bina, the revelation of Tainug is in Bina. His Galus Tainug in Bina. He quoted from the pasuk of Abed Levi, who Levi is in the Kavasmel, Kohen is Isha Chesed, Kohen is on the right line. So Chochmah, Chesed, and Netzach are on the right. Bina, Gvura, and Hoid are on the left. Levi is Kohen is Chesed, Levi is Gvura. If you go a level higher, Kohen would be Chochmah, Levi would be Bina. In the pasuk it says Va'avad HaLevi Hu. Concerning the Leviim guarding the Beis Hamikdash, it says that the Levi should do his service in order to guard the Mishkan, so that the Jewish people will not come to trespass when they're not allowed to, because if they do, they can die. So the pasuk says Va'avad HaLevi Hu, and the Levi will do his work. It could have easily said without the Hu. State in Kabbalah that Hu is a reference to Atik, the inner dimension of Keser, and the Avedas HaLeviim reveals Atik. So we see that again, the left Kav, which is Bina, Gvura, so on and so forth, is connected to what? To Atik. The bottom line is that these levels express Tainug. So even though we're talking about Chochmah Bina in the intellectual, the level, Torah at the level of Chochmah Bina, but we're talking in that revelation of Chochmah Bina, you find what? The expression of Tainug. So therefore, when you say Yom Yom, it makes sense to say Shashuyim. Also, when we talk about a lower level, he said the next aspect of the pasuk, Misachek is the fun of Bechol Eis, refers to Torah at the level of Midas, Misachekis b'tevel artzei refers to Torah at the level of Malchus, and then V'shashua yes b'nei Adam refers to Torah as it is revealed through the human being's behavior, learning and davening, and so on and so forth.
Half past. 8:30.
So what's the vort? The vort is, even though we're talking about all these different levels, level at Torah at the level of Chacham and Bina, Torah at the level of Midas, Torah at the level of Malchus, Torah at the level as it finds expression in the behavior and the learning of the human being, it makes sense in all of these to say Shashuim, an element of delight, playing, delight, and so on and so forth, which means all expressions of Torah from its source. However, when we come to the last one, Torah as it manifests itself in the elements of Agashmi, in this physical world, in learning and fulfillment of Torah mitzvahs of a Jew, over there it says V'sha'ashuai, my delights, Hashem's delight. We go back to what? To Amen. Torah at the very highest level, the first aspect of the Torah that the pasuk enumerates. Torah as it is at the level of Atzmos and Mahus together with the Eibishter himself. Where does that find expression? That level finds expression only where, as B'nei Adam, when a Yid learns and fulfills Torah mitzvahs. So the very highest levels of Torah finds expression dafka where, or rather Torah as it is beyond all levels. Torah as it is with Hashem himself finds expression specifically in the lowest aspect. So therefore that is why Chazal focus in on the second dimension, because they're talking about Torah where it starts from Tainuk. Amen is beyond reach unless you come to the lowest level. So the first point of entry is Shashuyim Yom Yom. And you go from level to level to level until you come to the very lowest one, and that connects you back to the very highest one, which couldn't find expression before. That is, in a nutshell, what the Rebbe said until now. So, Perek Dalet, Eis Dalet, page Sadik Vav. Obir Ha'inyan, to explain this more, the Hindi Yadua, it is known, Shabam Shachas Elokus Bichlal Yeshnei Efanim, that in the drawing down of godliness, generally there are two modes. Eir Yashar, a direct light and a returning light. We touched upon this in one of the previous Mamarim. In brief, before we go on, State in Kisvei Arizal, it says like this, that when Hashem created the Seder Hishtalshalos, the order of the chain of descent, the order that governs the whole of existence, so we know that generally, like we just enumerated, you have the Eidos Makifim, right? The divine lights, the divine energies that hover, that surround existence, and then you have the Eidos Pnimim, the internal lights. The Eidos Makifim are like Tainug and Rotzen, like we just mentioned, Keser, for example, or even more generally, Eidos Seviv, right? And then you have Eidos Pnimim, the 10 spheres. The 10 spheres are Eidos Pnimim, internal lights. They have an Eir, which is tailored to the Keli, and that's the way generally Seder Shtalshalos is run. So we know that the higher level is higher. The first level is higher. For example, Chochmah is the highest level. Bina is the next level. Das is lower, and so on and so forth until you come to Malchus. That's Eir Yashar, where the higher one has more revelation, greater divine energy, and the lower one contracts and becomes reduced. That's Eir Yashar, direct light. Steht in Kisvei Arizal that when Hashem finished the Seder Shtalshalos, he came to Malchus, he created a new Eir. It's called Eir Chezer, where the highest level manifests itself in Malchus. The next level, the second strong level, manifests itself in Yesod. The third one in Hod. The fourth one. So in other words, upside down, right? So you have one Shiur coming down Eir Yashar, where it becomes reduced as you descend. Eir Chezer means it becomes reduced as you ascend. So he went down and then he made a U-turn and started the same process, but just the other way around.
So just to clarify that, when it gets down the bottom, it's at its lowest, and when you say it goes up again, it increases or becomes even lower and lower.
No, he starts the process again from the bottom.
It reverses.
It reverses.
Reversing, becoming higher as it goes up again?
Lower.
Or
Lower. So in Malchus, you'll find expression of, so for example, Malchus all of a sudden becomes, let's say, Chochmah. It's like turning Seder Shtalshalos upside down. But not that Chochmah now is at the bottom. Malchus now has the highest Nekud in it. So, but it's two modes. They are two modes of the revelation of Getlichkeit. Normally, what's invoked is Eir Yashar. There are circumstances where you can trigger Chezer, Bal Tshuva, etc., etc. Right? So a tzaddik is Yosher, a Bal Tshuva is Chezer. Right? So let's see how the Rebbe explains it here in connection to Torah. So B'meila, in the drawing down of godliness, generally there are two modes: Yosher, Chezer, a direct light and a returning light. This we also find in the learning of Torah. There's a way of learning Torah in a mode of Yosher, a direct light. What does that mean? You learn and you understand. You open the text and you segate. You connect with what it says, you understand what it says. But then you have a limit there's learning in a mode of the returning light. What does that mean? When you learn and you don't understand. Generally, Chezer is triggered when there's a blockage, and you have to invoke a deeper koyach. It's like, for example, when a person finds himself in a state of danger, he will suddenly find in him abilities and strengths that he wasn't consciously aware that he has. What happened? Where did that come from? It's always there. It's latent, but it's always there. And it's triggered through a difficulty. Similarly, when you're learning, when one learns and doesn't understand, what happens? Or he's learning the text, and he has questions from another place of what he learned someplace else. And he overpowers these blockages, these concealments, and the questions. That's learning b'derech Chezer. Learning b'derech Yosher is you learn and you understand. Learning b'derech Chezer means you learn and you don't understand, and you overcome those hindrances, and you delve down to what it means. This is the difference between the Yerushalmi Talmud and the Babylonian Talmud. Shema Talmud Yerushalmi ein ribi kushis. The style of the Talmud Yerushalmi is fundamentally different than the style of the Talmud Bavli. In the Talmud Yerushalmi, there aren't an abundance of questions, and a lengthy discussion, and questions and answers. It's learning in the mode of direct light. The Talmud Bavli, yesh be'kushis v'chulu. In Talmud Bavli, you open a Gemara, there's one question, there's another question. You give an answer, there's a refutation. And you can go on and on and on until you get to the bottom line. Ukemaimer Azal, as the Talmud itself says, in Sechta Sanhedrin, the Machshakim Hoshivani, in Eicham, it says, the Machshakim Hoshivani, you have sat me in the dark. So the Talmud doesn't mean you have sat me in the dark. So the Chazal says, Zu Talmudish Babel. This is a reference to the Babylonian Talmud. Why is it dark? Because there are blockages. So learning Talmud Bavli is learning in the mode of a returning light. Yerushalmi is Yosher, Bavli is Chezer. V'hinei Yodua shalimud b'derech Chezer magia l'mayla ben arech v'limud Yosher. It is known that the learning in a mode of a returning light reaches way beyond. Not just beyond, but completely beyond the learning of Yosher, of a direct mode. Like similar to what we find concerning the great quality of learning Talmud Yerushalmi over the learning of Talmud Bavli, to such an extent, Rabzeira, who is one of the foremost Amirayim, Talmudic scholars, he learned Talmud Bavli. He's a member of the school that learned Bavli. At one point, he started learning Talmud Yerushalmi, and he fasted 100 fasts in order to forget the Babylonian Talmud. Why did he have to forget? when you go from one level to the next level, but the higher level is a quantum leap relative to the previous level. The previous level hinders your advance. If the advance is step by step, then you need a lower step in order to reach the higher step. But if you want to go from the lower level to the higher level, but when the higher level is limitlessly greater, infinitely greater than the previous level hinders you. For example, the marshal that we brought many times is the concept of a seed. If you want a seed to grow, the seed has to rot away completely. If it retains any of its original texture or structure, nothing will grow. It won't germinate. So because Talmud Yerushalmi is so infinitely greater than what the Talmud Bavli, Rabbi Zera fasted 100 fasts in order to forget Talmud Bavli. From this is understood that Talmud Bavli is infinitely greater than what? Than Talmud Yerushalmi in level. Because if the ascent from Talmud Bavli, the Babylonian Talmud to the Yerushalmi Talmud would have been in an orderly way. In other words, one step leads to the next one, and so on and so forth. He wouldn't have to forget the Babylonian Talmud in order to learn the Yerushalmi Talmud. Since in order to learn the Yerushalmi Talmud, he needed to forget the impression of Talmud Bavli. How do you move on this? From this is understood. This is a limitless, a quantum leap relative to the previous level. So from this is understood also the special quality that Talmud Yerushalmi possesses over Talmud Bavli. That what? In other words, conversely, he had to forget Talmud Bavli in order for what? To learn Talmud Yerushalmi. But there must be an element in Talmud Bavli that the Talmud Yerushalmi does not possess. What is that? The learning of Chazer. The learning in the returning mode, as we said before, that you delve in deeply through these blockages. So if there's a quantum distance between Talmud Bavli and Talmud Yerushalmi, it works both ways. The quality that Yerushalmi possesses over Talmud Bavli is infinitely greater, but similarly, the other way around, there's a maila, there's a special quality that the Bavli possesses over Yerushalmi, which is, as we mentioned before, the learning in the returning mode, which allows you to trigger elements that didn't exist before when you overcome difficulties. So that must be also infinitely greater than what? Than the Talmud Yerushalmi, which does not possess that particular element.
So is one returning and learning, and the other one learning and returning, or is that too simple?
One is learning in a direct way, and one is learning in a returning way. Returning is a borrowed term, so to speak. Well, it's not a borrowed term, but it means learning through overcoming obstacles. One is learning directly without any obstacles. You just learn. When there's an obstacle, when there's a problem, it causes you to delve deeper into that point. When you're learning directly, sometimes in simple terms, you run the danger of learning it superficially. I understand. You follow. You go. When there's a problem and you have to discuss and it's challenged and so on and so forth, you have to crystallize. So you delve much deeper into what you're learning. The next part, the Rebbe is going to explain that in the returning mode of learning, there are another two dimensions, and that will leave a mitzvah for tomorrow.